The 22nd of June, 1941, the Soviet Union. The first light of day spreads across the vast fields of the east as columns of German troops cross the Soviet border. Engines roar, artillery thunders, and the earth itself seems to tremble under the weight of the invasion. Operation Barbarossa, Hitler's war of conquest, destruction, and mass murder in the Soviet Union, has begun. Behind the front lines follow the mobile killing units known as the Einsatzgruppen. Their orders are not to fight soldiers, but to annihilate whole populations of Eastern Europe. In the villages of Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, gunfire echoes not from battle, but from execution pits. Jews, communists, and other groups of civilians are rounded up, forced to dig their own graves, and shot in the thousands. The deadliest among the German mobile killing units is Einsatzgruppe A, and its commander, directing the slaughter from Riga to the Baltic forests, is Walter Stahlecker. Franz Walter Stahlecker was born on the 10th of October 1900 in the small village of Sternenfels, then part of the German Empire. He was the second of 4 children of a Protestant pastor and teacher, Paul Eugen Stahlecker, and his wife Anna. When Franz was 6, his family moved to Tübingen, a university town known for its tradition of learning and piety. He grew up in a household where duty, obedience, and faith were constant values. At school, he was serious and ambitious, showing an early interest in law and order. In 1918, when the First World War was drawing to its chaotic end, he was drafted into the army but saw little action. The old world into which he had been born collapsed around him, and like many of his generation, he emerged from the war disillusioned but hungry for purpose. When the First World War ended in November 1918, he completed his education at the local gymnasium and entered the University of Tübingen to study law. The early 1920s in Germany were years of turmoil. There was revolutionary fighting between radical groups on left and right. Unemployment and the bitter memory of defeat was always present. For students like Stahlecker, nationalist organizations offered both belonging and direction. He joined a student fraternity that glorified discipline, fencing, and loyalty, moving in circles that admired the army while despising the new democratic government in Berlin. At the same time, he became involved with right-wing groups such as the Deutschvölkischer Schutz und Trutzbund and the secret Organisation Consul, both violent and openly anti-Semitic. In 1927, he earned his doctorate in law and began working as a legal trainee in the cities of Reutlingen and Tübingen before entering the civil service. His career advanced quickly. He served as a local administrator in various German cities, then as director of the employment office in the town of Nagold in southwestern Germany. Outwardly, he was a respectable official, intelligent and correct, with a quiet manner and a gift for organization. In 1932, he married Luisa Gabriele von Göttlingen, a woman from a noble Swabian family, and in the following years they had 4 children. Beneath this image of a model civil servant and a family man, however, his political sympathies lay firmly with the radical right. When Adolf Hitler came to power in 1933, Stahlecker joined the Nazi Party. His membership was later backdated to make him appear an earlier supporter of the Nazis, a sign of how quickly he adapted and earned the trust of the new regime. His real party number was 3,219,015, but was backdated to a year earlier, and he received the number 1,069,130. After this, he rose quickly during the Nazi era. Already in May 1933, he was appointed deputy head of the Württemberg political police, and within a year, he took over this office as its director. His task was to destroy political opposition by arresting communists, social democrats, and anyone suspected of disloyalty to the Nazi state. His efficiency and ruthlessness drew attention in Berlin. In 1937, he was transferred to Breslau, today's Wrocław, and a year later, after the annexation of Austria, which took place in March 1938, he became inspector of the security police and the Nazi intelligence agency, the SD, in Austria. There, he worked closely with Adolf Eichmann in organizing the forced emigration of Austrian Jews, a process that soon turned into systematic robbery and deportation. In these years, Stahlecker proved himself a trusted follower of Reinhard Heydrich, the architect of Nazi terror. He shared Heydrich's belief that bureaucracy could serve destruction and that murder could be managed like an office routine. His reports were meticulous, written in legal language that concealed brutality behind administrative phrases. Colleagues later recalled him as calm and formal, a man who rarely raised his voice but inspired fear through his cold precision. In 1939, after Germany dismembered Czechoslovakia with the help received from some Slovak radical nationalists, Stahlecker was sent to Prague as commander of the security police and SD in the newly established Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia, which was formed under Nazi pressure and occupation in March 1939. His position gave him direct authority over political policing, surveillance, and the suppression of dissent. From there, he was transferred to Norway in 1940, following the German invasion, where he helped to establish occupation administration under the control of the SS. He returned to Berlin the following year, hoping for further promotion within the Reich Security Main Office, Nazi intelligence agency, and main force in suppressing any opposition in occupied Europe. His chance came in the spring of 1941. Hitler was at that time finalizing preparations for the invasion against the Soviet Union, a campaign intended not only to conquer territory, but to destroy entire populations. Stahlecker was chosen to lead Einsatzgruppe A, one of the 4 mobile killing units that followed the army. His rank was raised in the spring of 1941 to SS Brigadeführer, an equivalent to Brigadier General in the US Army, and at the same time, he was also promoted to Generalmajor der Polizei. Stahlecker was given command of roughly 1,000 men. This unit was on the ground supported by local collaborators and other auxiliary units. Their mission was clear. They were sent to kill Jews, communists, and anyone considered a political enemy of Nazi Germany in the newly occupied lands. When Operation Barbarossa, the attack against the Soviet Union, began on the 22nd of June 1941, Stahlecker's unit followed the German Army Group north through Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. Behind the advancing front, his men carried out mass executions in towns and villages. In the first weeks, thousands of Jews were rounded up and shot in fields or forests. Stahlecker's own reports to Reinhard Heydrich in Berlin described these actions as necessary measures to secure the military rear. But in reality, it was nothing other than the inhuman mass murder of civilians. In early July, after the capture of Riga, the Latvian capital, he ordered all but one of the city's synagogues to be burned. The Peitov synagogue was spared only because the Nazis realized that destroying it might also damage surrounding buildings that did not belong to the Jewish community. Stahlecker personally approved the creation of the infamous Arājs Kommando, a Latvian militia which under his supervision became one of the most brutal instruments of the Holocaust in the Baltics. Through the summer and autumn of 1941, the killings spread through the region. Stahlecker insisted that local civilians from the majority should be included into the violence, presenting the massacres as spontaneous acts of revenge, rather than organized extermination by the Nazis. By late 1941, he was appointed commander of the security police and SD in the Reichskommissariat Ostland, based in Riga. He also oversaw the deportation of Jews from Germany to occupied Latvia, where many were murdered soon after arrival by bullet or by starvation in the concentration camp. For this purpose, he also created the Jungfernhof camp in Riga, used for prisoners from the Reich, and coordinated operations with the local civil administration and infamous Arājs Kommando. Under his authority, the Holocaust in the Baltic region became systematic and almost successful. The Jewish communities of Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, one of the oldest in Europe, were almost entirely destroyed within months under his command. His correspondence with Berlin continued to use bureaucratic terms, masking the genocide behind administrative precision. By the end of 1941, he reported to Berlin the killing of 249,420 Jews. But the tide of the war was slowly turning. German offensive against Moscow in the winter of 1941 was not successful, and the USA joined the Allies at last. In early 1942, Soviet partisans grew bolder, and German positions behind the front became targets of constant raids. Stahlecker's staff operated near the town of Krasnogvardsk, today's Gatchina, south of Leningrad, where he traveled regularly between field headquarters. On the 22nd of March 1942, his car was ambushed. A bullet struck his leg, severing a main artery. He was taken to Riga and placed aboard a plane destined for Prague, where his family lived. But he died from blood loss before the flight could land on the 23rd of March 1942. After his death, the Nazi leadership treated him as a hero and used him for their propaganda. A state funeral was held in Prague, where Reinhard Heydrich gave the eulogy, praising Stahlecker's unwavering service to the Reich and Führer. Wreaths were sent by Heinrich Himmler and Joachim von Ribbentrop, and German newspapers wrote of his courage and dedication. Ironically, Reinhard Heydrich, his former boss and head of the Reich Security Main Office, followed him to the grave a few months later. While to his family, he was remembered as a disciplined officer who died for his country. History, however, has remembered Stahlecker differently. His reports, found after the war, stand among the most chilling documents of the Holocaust. They reveal a man who combined legal training, administrative skill, and total obedience to a murderous ideology. In his brief command, he oversaw the annihilation of hundreds of thousands of people from the Baltic region. When Soviet partisans succeeded in their ambush on the 22nd of March 1942, they eliminated one of Nazi Germany's most dangerous mass murderers. When he died on board the plane from blood loss, he was 41 years old. Before we end today's story, take a look at worldhistory.tv, your special destination for true history lovers. Discover exclusive documentaries and incredible stories you won't find anywhere else. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more.